What's up, nation? This month on DeFranco Book Club, we're doing World War Z, or, if you're Canadian like me, World War Z. So first off, I want to say, I finished this book in a week. I literally never do that. I mean, I barely read at all. I think the last book I finished was, The Cat in the Hat, and that took me a month and a half, so that I hadn't seen the movie for so long that I couldn't remember what happened. But then as I got into it, I realized it really didn't matter. They were so different. I mean, I rewatched the movie after listening to the book, and yeah, it's not the same. Good movie though, I think. And I understand why they did that. I mean, the book is basically a documentary. And you can't make an action movie out of a documentary. So they had to amp things up a little bit, change some of the details. But I get it. In a movie standpoint, I understand why they did what they did. Side note on that, I noticed that Peter Capaldi was one of the people at the research facility at the World Health Organization. So he was a doctor at the WHO facility. Come on. Yeah, so on the fact that it's kind of like a documentary book, it was very hard to stay emotionally attached to all the characters because you're switching around so much. But I think that Max did a really good job in having these keywords that you associated with these other stories that everyone kept mentioning. I mean, think about how many times you hear the word Yonkers or feral child or talking about the spring thaw. There's always these things that every chapter was a different story, but yet every chapter had you remembering these other memories and stories and people that got you to be emotionally involved the whole time. Which, again, when you're doing something like this where you're traveling all over the world, all these different stories, it's hard to do. One of the things I loved about this book was how real it really was. I mean, every chapter you heard another story and you're like, I could easily see that happening. I mean, all the bureaucratic bullshit, all the governments trying to hide it just to keep people happy, all these things that people reacted to it, trying to do this and that. No one was really prepared. I mean, think about who actually is prepared. I'm a pretty prepared guy, but I mean, even that, I couldn't last more than a month in this kind of situation, realistically. Like, just think about how realistic this sounds. The government won't spend money to preemptively stop something, but then they waste so much money on stupid things at a place like Yonkers, where all their tech and equipment and whatnot, and it didn't even work. Not the way they hoped. But then they blow all this money and they're like, oh no, we don't have enough money. We don't like to think about it, but humanity is just held together by a thin little line. And all it takes is some major catastrophe, and like what happened in the book, you have people literally killing each other just for the chance to try and save themselves. Because it's ingrained in everyone. Just fight for yourself. That's all you care about. I mean, think about it as like the situation where a person is drowning and someone comes out to try and rescue them. There's been tons of cases where if they're not prepared, the person drowning drags the rescuer down with them. Even though if they just let it happen, they would be fine. But they freak out and drag everyone down with them. And I just love the way that it's so in-depth and detailed, and there's this wide array of characters. Even though you may not remember their names, you know their stories and you're reminded of them all through the book, chapter after chapter. It's an incredible book. So yeah, to sum up, I'd say it's an awesome book. You should definitely go read it or listen to it. especially if you like survival or anything to do with zombies, apocalyptic, anything like that. There's so much detail and info in this book. It's fantastic.